Sugar Daddy Podcast, yo. Learn how to make them pockets grow. Financial freedom's where we go. Smart investments, money flow.
Hey, babe, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about this topic that I feel like has been continuously coming up, which is cost or price versus value. And I feel like it's a really important conversation because so many people only look at price and it's costing them in the long run.
Yes. Obviously now things are increasing so much and how much they cost
Hmm.
that obviously that is a big focus for a lot of people. However, you do have to weigh that out in regards to what you're actually getting from a value standpoint because price and value are not the same thing and they don't necessarily equal one another.
They are not. And sometimes, and we've said it on other episodes, cheap can be expensive.
Yes.
You buy something
Yes.
cheap and it can cost you in the long run. So just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's going to get you the value that you're hoping for.
And this is coming from a naturally frugal person.
Yes, y'all. Oh my gosh.
However, I do very much understand the difference between value and price because
Yes, you do.
there are certain things that even though I'm always, looking at how much something costs and I can wait and I can differentiate a need between a want,
Yeah.
there are certain things that I'm going to buy and I'm going to pay the premium price for because I know I'm going to get the value that I want out of them because I use it all the time and it's going to last a long time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that cost per wear. I mean, at one point in life, I knew I was going to buy, the $15 Target sandals, and I would buy 3 or 4 pair for that summer. And by the end of the summer, they would be wrecked because they're $15 Target sandals. And I would just mentally in my head, I'd be like, okay, well, these go in the trash and I'm going to buy new ones next summer. Now I have spent a lot more on quality shoes that I am no longer throwing out every summer. So, it was that mindset shift. It's just a change in perspective of what am I actually doing and what am I actually getting for the money that I'm spending.
Yeah, because if you're looking at it just from a standpoint, the definition wise, like price is simply the cost in dollars for something.
Right.
That's all that it reflects. As value is more as like what something is worth to you based on, the benefit that it actually provides for you.
And that there is a difference because I think the important, like what's valuable to you
Yes.
is not necessarily valuable to me.
It's very subjective.
Exactly. And so you have to determine what the value is. Like
Yeah.
I have to do that sometimes when I'm like, okay, I can drive to the store, I can park, I can walk in the store, I can shop for an hour, I can get in line, I can get back in the car. That's a 3-hour ordeal depending on what I need. Or I can use my Instacart app and I can order these here groceries and I can pay the price of the tip and the service fee. The tip never bothers me. The service fee bothers me, but I don't want to get off track today. And I will pay because the value to me is what else could I be doing right now? Could we be recording a podcast? Could I be getting some laundry done? Could I be studying for something? Could I be sending out a newsletter? Like my time is so valuable because I have so little of it that is a cost I'm willing to spend because I
Yeah.
get the value.
What you find value in is determined upon your own individual needs, priorities, and goals.
Correct.
So that's obviously going to vary from person to person.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be one uniform thing. They're like, oh, everybody finds value in this because there's going to be things that I find value in that Jess might not even find value in.
Correct.
So it's more or less determining that for yourself and seeing if it makes sense for you to focus on that as compared to the price. Because obviously, we do have to factor in price to some standard because even if you're getting a certain value out of it, if it's just out of your price range, it just might not be, something that you could do right now.
Yeah.
So you have to be realistic about that also.
Yeah. There's been a couple of examples of things personally as well as just in our life and in our surrounding kind of family where this price versus value has come up multiple times. And so we want you to think about a time where you paid a low price, maybe not the lowest price, but you paid a low price and it didn't pan out the way you wanted. Now, maybe it's the, $20 jeans that ripped after the third time you wore them and you're like, man, this doesn't happen with my $100 jeans. It could be something like that, but it could also be, hey, I use this CPA who missed a bunch of deductions and it cost me money, or maybe I ended up with a big old tax bill versus
Or they tried to send me my tax return unencrypted.
y'all, one time we had the CPA who sent our tax returns unencrypted, and Brandon was like, this is the last time we are ever using her. I cannot believe she does not have encryption on her emails.
She
So
also tried to charge us like twice what she had charged us the year before, even though nothing had changed in our
and
final
also
situation.
there was no communication
And there was
about
no
her
communication.
price
She
increase.
just sent a bill. I'm like, I'm not paying this. Like,
Yeah, that was a little crazy. Yeah. So again, or we have friends in our circle who had a CPA. I don't know what they were doing, but on more than one occasion, they have ended up with massive tax bills, and that's clearly not worth it. Like, clearly spending less to get a service that then costs you thousands in the long run because it was done incorrectly. That is lacking value. You got a cheap price, but it lacked all the value.
because I always say this when it comes to, especially when it comes to professional services that you're looking for, whether that's, working with me or another type of financial advisor, or, getting a contractor to do some work on your home. If you're getting multiple quotes, let's say you get 4 quotes and one person is significantly lower than the rest,
Red flag.
there is often a reason, because their value is not the same.
Correct.
So you can go with the one that has a lower price, but 9 times out of 10,
You're going to pay
you're
for
gonna
it later.
pay for it later on, one way or
Yes.
another. And it's going to end up costing you more
Yeah.
than if you simply went with the more valued individual that costs more in the beginning.
Yes. Now, just as a caveat, if you have a super low price and a super high price, I would still shop around and maybe find 2 that are in the middle, because
Yeah.
you don't want outliers on either side.
Correct.
Like, that's kind of my rule of thumb. And if I'm looking for somebody to do work in my home.
And here's what I'll say too as a caveat, like, it also depends on what you're looking to get out of it as well, because you might have an outlier that's on the high end, but you also have to measure against what are you getting.
Yes.
So if you have, these 2 over here, they're in the same price range and you're getting 5 things, but this person over here is priced higher and you're getting 15.
Well, but why is the scope of work changing?
No.
Like,
What,
if
no,
I'm-
no, 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 no. What I'm okay. So here's what I'm saying. Here's the example I'm looking at.
Okay.
From a financial advising standpoint, there are financial advisors that, I am not the cheapest financial advisor, but I'm definitely not the most expensive.
Correct.
And there are ones that are significantly more expensive than myself, but they also are maybe providing a more tailored, more white glove, experience. Now, obviously, do you need that experience is what it is, because more than likely they might be working with more high-end clients that do need those more additional services. So you have to measure it out. But if you're just looking at it from the outside, this person's charging this much as compared to this one, doesn't mean the person who's charging higher is trying to, get over on you, or they're not doing, or their value is not there.
Okay. I feel like what you do is very tailored.
Oh,
But
I do. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm talking about, like, there's a difference between me working with someone who has, like, a few millions and someone that has 200 million.
yes, of course. Yeah.
There's a
Okay.
big difference in regards to what they need.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, just looking at price, you have to look at also what you're getting in
Yes,
there.
I understand. Well, okay. So let's break it down into maybe some more realistic examples. Like, one thing that came to mind as we were talking about this, like, value versus price is, and your mom still doesn't listen to our podcast, so I'm gonna talk about her. If she doesn't want me to talk about her, she can listen to our podcast.
She'll probably listen to this episode
Of
just
course
for that
she
reason.
will, because that's the universe. But your mom, frugal,
It's partially where I get it from.
and she has beautiful, kinky, curly hair, and she needs to go to a curl specialist. But what does she do? She goes to the school. She goes to the Paul Mitchell School, where every single time she walks in the door, she gets a different person. There's no continuity. Nobody understands her hair because they haven't worked with it. They haven't seen it. They don't know what's going on with it. She's gotten cuts. She's gotten color. And I would say 9 times out of 10, the color is off. The cut is definitely off. And she walks out not super happy.
Yeah, and the sad part is, like, she'll have one really good experience because she just happened to find that one diamond in the rough.
Yeah, but they're in school, so then they leave.
But then they're not there.
Right, and she has no idea where they went, which is like that continuity. Like, I want somebody who knows my hair, knows my journey, like, etc.
And this is a price versus a value scenario.
So
where-
then you and your brother bought her a cut with the curl specialist that I see, who is not cheap, nor should she be, because she's got decades worth of experience
And she
and
has
courses
results.
and education.
And more importantly, the results.
And the way she walked in our front door after she got her hair done, you would have thought she was walking next to Naomi Campbell on the runway. Did she not?
Yes,
She was obsessed.
And my mom's I love her to death, but she's a hard one to please sometimes. And so the way that, for the fact that she went and then had this haircut and came out, glowing about the experience and
Glowing.
everything like that. And I explained to her, I was like, this is the difference. You are paying more, but the value you get out of it is significantly more.
Yeah, because
Yes.
you can get the $35 haircut, which there are people out here who can get a $35 haircut. That's fine. Your mom is not one
No.
of them. And the last time she went to the school, they cut off so much hair she could barely put it up in her little puff to play pickleball.
Yeah.
She was pissed.
Yeah.
But
So-
again, I'm not going to listen, I'm at the point I am not going to feel sorry for you. I straight up looked at her and I said, this is what you get. I've been giving you Michelle's number for a
Yes.
bajillion years.
Shout
and you
out
have
to Michelle Pardo.
Shout out to Michelle, because listen, you get the value. She's not going to ruin your hair with color. She's not going to chop off more inches than you talked about. She is going to understand how your curls bounce back when you cut them. So if you say you want an inch off, guess what? That inch is going to turn into 4.5 inches because of how much shrinkage you have. People need to understand that. So when we talk about price versus value, your mom finally understood the value of going to somebody who has decades of experience, has touched all different kinds of curls for 20 years, and has the education behind understanding what they're doing. Period.
Well, the thing is too, you also have to weigh, not just simply that, you have to weigh it out from, the standpoint, if you're buying something cheaper, one, more likely, like I said, it's not going to deliver the value that you're looking for. You're going to have to replace it anyways.
Mhm.
And then also it's going to for a lot of people that are, always focused on price, that's going to be decision overload because you're always searching for a bargain.
Yeah.
You're going to put more work and effort to finding the cheapest price than just simply going with the highest value, getting it done, and getting the outcome that you want. And you're,
Mhm.
like you said, you didn't waste all this time just searching for the lowest bargain, and even wasting all your time to do that. Find the cheapest one, and it still doesn't provide you with the outcome that you're looking for.
Yes. I'll give another example because I really feel like I want to get people's minds kind of going, and then I'll give my personal example. But I have a close friend who I've been saying, you should be working with Brandon or somebody. She has multiple retirement accounts from leaving, jobs over the years. She didn't aggregate she didn't combine them into an IRA. So you have all these accounts sitting in different places. They could have been growing in a compounded way. It's great that you have $15,000 here and $20,000 there, but you have $35,000 if you put it together. That's going to grow differently than if you have all these separate accounts.
Once again, I'm going to tell you mathematically that is incorrect.
Okay.
If you have $15,000 here,
Mhm.
$10,000 here, and
Mhm.
$5,000 in a different account, and if they're all invested the same at the same time,
Were they all invested the
that's
same?
okay. So you didn't say that. That's the caveat.
Oh, you get on my nerves.
The way you were
know
saying it
exactly
from a
what
math
I mean.
standpoint, if you have them all in separate accounts, but they're all invested the same,
Okay,
whether you
they
have
were
them
not
separate or
invested
together,
the
it's going to
same.
equal the same amount.
Okay, yes, that makes sense. You're a turd. Also, they weren't.
So the biggest caveat, what you're saying there is that she had an account that was not invested. It was in cash.
I didn't even get to that point yet.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so all these years, and she finally sat down with Brandon, which I'm glad that she did. And what did you find? Now tell your story.
Within, a couple minutes of looking at it, not even a couple minutes, a couple seconds, you can look at it and say that it wasn't invested. It was all in cash.
So first of
So
all,
what had happened?
we thought
So what had happened was that
what had happened was
it was an older employer. From the years wise, I want to say it's one of her first employers, and had been in a 401k plan. And what ends up happening is when you leave an employer and you don't actually do something with that money at that old 401k, this was the 403b, and old 403b,
she's in healthcare.
if you don't do something with it, often what happens is that after a certain period of time, they automatically roll you over to an IRA. The big thing is, though, is that when that happens is that often the funds that you may be invested in a 401k plan or a 403b are not able to be rolled over into an IRA. So what
Mhm.
happens is they cash you out and it rolls over as cash into an IRA. And then once it's in the IRA, you have to reinvest it. So what it did is she didn't do anything with it, cashed her out, rolled into an IRA, and it was sitting there in cash for
AKA it was not invested.
for the past 10 years.
So thousands of dollars is what she missed out on because it had like
Yeah,
$2,000
I mean,
in it.
I kind of did the math on it. Like, if we had done the basic portfolio that would have been recommended, for her at that time, she probably would have had roughly, it was like around a little over $2,000 in cash that was there. She probably would have had around, between $8,000 and $9,000
That's
just
what,
from doing nothing and
from
nothing.
doing
Yeah,
nothing,
nothing
just from
without just from compound
yeah.
interest growth without adding any additional money to it.
So there was a couple of pieces of value that you added within minutes. A, she thought she needed to open an IRA and she already had one. B, the money was sitting there in cash, not actually invested, so she missed out on a decade's worth of growth. And C, making sure that she understood, hey, when you leave an employer and you don't do anything, sometimes they convert these accounts into this kind of an account, right? So there's so much value in a couple of minutes worth of conversation that when you work with a professional who does this for a living, you get the value instantly. So all that to say, when you spend money, in most cases, working with a professional, you are going to get the value. You are going to get the better haircut. You are going to get the better suit tailoring. You are going to get the better financial information to make sure that your accounts are set up correctly. You are going to get a better job done on getting your brakes installed. Like, there are so many examples of where going with the cheapest option does not make sense. And I'll give you one more
I got
example.
one more real quick. Because it's funny because you said about the tailoring option
Oh,
that I have an individual that I know named Brian Burnett who owns his own bespoke tailoring company and a lot of other things he has going on. But I always see his videos talking about he has clients come in who maybe have spent $1,200 on say a suit or or even just sometimes like a blazer, but they go and try to get it tailored at like the laundromat. And
oh
he has all these
no.
videos where he's like, do not take your $1,400 jacket to the laundromat because this is what they
Oh.
do. Like he has all these different things where he's having to fix these expensive garments because people were focused on price and not value.
Which is so silly because in my mind, and we've talked about
They
this.
try to cut it someplace else.
Yeah. But in my head, I'm like, let me get the $100 suit and get it tailored by a Brian Burnett and then make it look like a $1,500 suit.
But sometimes what happens is that people will they understand the difference between price and value. They just don't always apply it equally across the board. So they're like, oh, I see the value in purchasing this
A nice
higher end
suit.
garment.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to go ahead and cut on the price standpoint and go to the laundromat tailor,
Oh.
which doesn't make any sense to me. But I just thought it was funny because you said that because I always see his videos and they make me laugh.
Yeah. No, but that's exactly right. It's like sometimes you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the biggest thing. Is like it's not that you're getting less than what you paid for.
You
You're
got
getting exactly what you paid for.
paid for. Well, I'll give you this whole episode came about because I am in a PMP course, so project management professional certification. This course was $4,500. Then I had to spend $425 for I think the exam and then the membership and all the things. So all in, it was a little over $5,000. Now, my caveat was that my employer is paying for $5,000 worth because I wrote that into my contract for professional development, which is fantastic. But I already knew that I wanted to do this course. And if you scroll back into our podcast archives, I'm doing the PMP boot camp with Tamara McLemore. We did an episode with her. She's absolutely fantastic. And I knew that I did not want to, nor would I have had time to study for the PMP for 8 to 12 months, which is what most people do because it's not easy. It's a ton of material. There's compliance, there's risk, there's procurement. There's so many things. There's methodology. And I just don't have the time, y'all. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the want to study for something for 8 to 12 months. And so Tamra's whole thing is I will get you ready for the PMP exam in 30 days. And so ironically, I'm actually taking my PMP it'll be 30 days on the dot from when we started the boot camp. Now, it was intense. It was Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So, you work, you have family, you have all the things, and then you're still up and learning until 10 p.m. And y'all know my bedtime is between 8:30 and 9. So that was very difficult for me. That was 2 weeks. 3 hours of class on Saturday, 4-hour mock exams on Saturdays. Like, it has not been easy from a time perspective, but the value that I got in sitting down with somebody who is a professional in this field and who is teaching us how to take the exam, where to focus our time, how to prep, how to study, that is value,
Yeah.
because it would have taken me 2 or 3 months on my own and digging through YouTube videos and which ones can I trust and which curriculum is up to date. Are they using the latest version, the greatest version? I mean, that amount of time that I got in 2 weeks would have taken me months to figure out on my own. And then,
And if you
and
if you figured it out.
exactly. So, going through with a professional holding your hand, I mean, I feel very confident that when I take this exam, I will pass. I'm just affirming it now. I will be passing this exam. But the
You will.
value is in having somebody hold my hand to tell me exactly what to do. Now, I'm still putting in the work. I'm still, spending hours away every Saturday, taking my mocks and studying and doing all the things. And a lot has fallen to Brandon during this time, because he knows, hey, let's grind it out for a month and then we're done, versus the slow burn of 8 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. So that's where this episode came from, is like, wow, I've gotten so much value in the money that I spent doing this with a professional who knows exactly what she's talking about, is up to date on all the latest and greatest, understands where we need to focus our time, gave analogies and examples that I know I'm going to take with me on test day, because she's helping break down the material. She's helping us, walk through step by step. That is value.
Yeah, and with, kind of piggybacking off of that, we also want to help you be able to actually define value for yourself.
Yeah.
And there are, kind of like, 4 questions that you can really ask yourself that'll help you define what value actually means for you as an individual. So, first starting out with, does this solve an actual problem for me?
Mm,
Because most of the time, you're looking to solve an issue or a problem, and you have to make a determination is like, going with the cheaper option. This is actually going to solve that.
yeah.
So, for example, like you wanted your quote unquote problem was you wanted the PMP and you wanted to do it as soon as possible.
Yes.
So, going with the cheaper option probably wasn't going to solve your problem.
No.
All right.
No.
So, with number 2, will it benefit me in the long run? Whether that's financially, emotionally, time that you invested or wasted doing this,
Mm-hmm.
that can help you define what the value means to you.
Yeah. I like that.
Number 3, does it align with my priorities, values, or lifestyle goals?
Oh, I like that one. Okay.
Yeah, because often too, because you also too sometimes have to define like just because you see a good deal doesn't mean that that deal aligns with your goals. It's not something you were
That's
necessarily
true.
looking to do. It just happened to be a good price or a good deal because
Mm-hmm.
we want to use that language because it could, sometimes you do good things for a lower cost that are still have plenty of value.
That's true.
And then number 4, would I feel good about this purchase 6 months from now?
Ooh, I think that's a good one.
Yes.
I think, and I talk to the kids about that a lot, because when they get birthday money or little spending money or tooth fairy money, and they want to go and spend it. The last time I went out with our daughter, I said, "Hey, let's think about what we already have. Are you currently playing with it or not?
Hmm.
And are you going to care about this in 6 months?" And she actually asked herself those questions as we were going up and down the aisles, and she was like, "I think this would be fun for like a weekend, but then I don't think I would care about it anymore." And I was so proud of her, because yeah, some things are fun right here in the moment. But that a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 months from now, you are not going to care about that thing.
I mean, I can easily think about, that scenario where in my, younger years where I had a problem where like, oh, if I saw a nice pair of shoes, even though I didn't need a pair of shoes, I knew it was a deal, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't need them.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I would go ahead and purchase them and then I'm not wearing them. So 6 months later, still haven't worn these things, even though I could have and had occasions where it would have made sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't make sense. So it
It
wasn't
doesn't
bad.
make
Ultimately, it
sense.
was not a good purchase.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and listen, we're all going to make purchases that don't make sense. I mean, I went to TJ Maxx yesterday. I went in for 4 specific things and
3 hours later.
3 hours later and $200 later, I was like, what did I buy? But I will say that I did analyze the things that I bought for the value that they would give our home, our family, etc. Now, were they wants and or needs? They were wants. They were all wants. None of them were needs. So I acknowledge that, and that doesn't happen too often because I really just don't like going into
You
stores.
sure don't.
I just don't like it anymore. Which is good.
Mhm.
That is good. But that's not to say like you don't have to evaluate every purchase with those 4 questions.
No, not
But
every
we
single one.
should, is it a want versus a need? Am I going to have to replace this in 2 weeks because it's low quality? Is it serving me? I mean, I think those are good things to just start incorporating so that you have a reference point of why are you buying this? Why is this in your cart?
Well, yeah, you can start actually, kind of incorporating this, not necessarily on a daily basis, but, incorporating to your life as far as having your own personal value filter.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what you run those decisions through. So, it's like, what are like my top 3 priorities? That might be
Mhm.
your family, your time, and being able to do whatever you want to do when you want to do it, your health, whatever it may be, whatever your top 3 priorities are.
Yeah.
And then also running your, personal value filter through like, does this help solve this problem in this area? Does
Mhm.
this help make things easier in this area? Does this free up time in this area? And run
Yes.
it through the filter when
Will I
making those
will I walk
decisions.
out of here with 4 inches less hair than I wanted? Well, and even, the fair was just in town. We did not take our kids to the fair. I think the only reason they even knew about it was because some of the neighbor kids went. And people spend a lot of money at the fair, y'all. You have to pay to park. You have to pay to get in. You
And
have to pay for the food. You have to pay for the
And the
rides.
thing is, though, for some people, that's value because maybe that's a tradition they've built in from a
Absolutely.
family time, which is fine because you find value in it. Because once again, going back, the idea is that what you find value in may not be what somebody else finds value in. It's very individual. We
Yes.
personally do not find value in the fair.
There's no
But
there's
if
no
you
value there
do,
for
then
us.
but if you do, then that's fine because
Yes.
it fits within like your top, priorities within your family.
Yes. And one of our priorities is always travel. So
Yes.
travel together without our children and then travel with our children. Now, I'm not saying that a tropical vacation at an all inclusive for a week is comparable to what you would spend at the fair. However, if you add up those things, right, they add up over time. So maybe it's, you're, eh,
At the
again,
end of the day, we're just not fair people.
we're not fair
Like
people.
it
I
doesn't.
don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. But we know it's an expensive activity. And so when our kids finally said, are we going to go to the fair? I said, no, we are going to X place for Christmas instead. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's going to be great. So
Yeah.
at this point, they're not even like questioning or saying, like, oh, man, I want to go to the fair. Like, no, they don't
But
care.
that, I mean, like
They also don't know what the fair is. So they
we're
have
also
no like
kind of, but we're
reference
also
point
kind
yet.
of teaching them like, the personal value filter. So it's like, hey,
Our
with
personal
this
value
scenario,
filter.
with this
Yeah,
scenario is this, well, it's going to be ours for now because they have no money.
correct.
So,
$0.
is this aligned
Yeah,
with our personal values? And does it actually serve what brings us joy or what it may be?
right.
Because the nice thing is too is once you actually start to run the decisions through that filter, it allows you to give yourself permission to really actually invest in the things that do matter to you because you're not
Absolutely.
wasting money on all these other things that actually don't. So it allows you to really focus on what you find value in and put the money towards that value.
Yeah. And I think that's, if that is, for example, if you are not a foodie person and you are being invited to dinner by foodie friends and you're like, oh, that's really not where I want to spend my money, that's when you can say, hey, that actually doesn't align with where I want to spend my money right now, but I would love to grab a coffee and take a walk. Or I would love to, whatever it is that is not that thing that you don't want to spend money on, you should feel empowered to say, hey, that's not what I'm spending my money on right now, but I would love to see you. How can we make that happen without going to dinner?
Yeah, makes you more intentional about how you're spending your money.
Totally. Because listen, y'all, we are too old to be spending our money in ways that do not bring us joy, do not make us feel good at the end of the day, do not align with our goals. We need to be stopping that. Like, we just need to stop.
Yeah.
So, Really, this was more of a food for thought type conversation because I felt like
Well,
these
it's a mindset. It's a
it's a
mindset.
mindset. Yeah, these things were coming up for us quite frequently with, a lot of those examples that we shared. And I said, I really think we should do a price versus value discussion because it comes up for so many of us in so many different areas. And so we want you to start thinking about what is the cost of something versus what is the value that it's bringing to you. So the next time you have a purchase decision to make, hopefully you will hear us in your head, and hopefully it'll help you make decisions that you feel really good about at the end of the day. So hopefully this was helpful. It's something that's been, kind of top of mind for us. So hopefully this will help you make the decisions that you're proud of, and we will talk to you soon.
Sugar Daddy Podcast, yo. Learn how to make them pockets grow. Financial freedom's where we go. Smart investments, money.